Hello everyone, welcome to session 28 of Selenium training. I'm going to continue the core Java. In today's session, I'm going to explain about exception handling. Okay, exception handling mechanism. So before that, guys, did you all get a chance to look into that three topics, guys? Abstract classes, interfaces, sorry, modifiers, interfaces. Guys, are all these topics clear, guys?
Yes, Arun.
Great. Fine, guys. So let's get started then. If you are good with this, then we are good to go. Let's look into this exception handling now. Kind of slow. Fine. So, what is exception handling? Exception. Before actually understanding exception handling, let's first understand what actually exception is. Okay. So I'm going to explain about exception handling. Exception handling. So before going to understand what actually an exception handling is, we need to first understand what actually an exception is. What is an exception? What is an exception? So exception is nothing but an error which is occurred during the runtime, that is during program execution. So let me show you one thing and let me ask you a question also. Just give me a second. Let me create a new project. It's loading. Let's wait for it to load. Right click on this project, delete it, delete the project completely from the machine. Let's create a new project, Java project. Next, exception handling, some project. Okay, some project. Click on finish. Right click on this src, new, create a new class. Let me create some class known as demo class. Click on finish. A demo class got created here. Let's wait, it's not loaded yet. So in this demo class, let me create a main method, public static void main string of args. Created a main method, and inside this main method, let me write some code. So int a is equal to xyz. So is it possible, guys? No, right? I'm getting some error, right? I'm getting an error. Type mismatch, cannot convert from string to int. This is the error. Do you think this is exception, guys? Do you think this error is nothing but an exception? Because I am saying here that exception is nothing but an error which is occurred during the runtime, right? Do you think this particular thing is an error or not? Is that?
No.
No, right? It's not an exception, guys. It's an error. It's correct that it is an error. Okay, it's an error, but it's not an exception. Instead, you can say this is a compiler error. Okay, compile time error or compiler error or compile time error. People call that compile time error. So while I am writing the program, I didn't execute it. I didn't run the program, right? Right click run as I didn't run the program. I have not run the program, but before running the program itself, I am getting this error. Okay, how can this error be displayed, guys? There is something called Java compiler, which will compile the code and check whether whatever the code we are writing in Java is according to the Java syntax or not. Whatever the code I am writing here is according to the Java syntax or not. It will just check. Okay, the Java compiler will compile this code. It is not executing as it's just compiling. to check whether the code, whatever the syntax I have written here, is according to the Java syntax or not. If we are against the Java syntax, or if we are going against the rules which are imposed by the Java, in that case we are going to get an error, guys. This kind of errors which we get before executing the programs, this kind of errors which we get before executing the programs are known as compile time error. Okay, compiler given errors are compile time errors. Fine. This is not an exception. This is not an exception. This is a compile time error. Fine. Fine. That's fine. So I will write some code which will not give me a compile time error, but it definitely will give exception, guys. Okay, I'll give that. So exception is, for now, just understand this line, guys. I will come to this line again. Exception is nothing but an error which is occurred during the runtime. Runtime means during on executing the program, you will get such kind of errors. So whatever the error I just now showed you is not a runtime error. It's a compile time error. Runtime is different. Compile time is different. Sorry. So there are two types of errors, right? Now I am explaining. One is compile time error. Other one is runtime error, like this. So before execution, if you get an error, it is known as which error, guys? Before executing the program, if I get an error, is it a compile time error or runtime error?
Compile time error.
Yes, compile time error. After executing, if I get an error, then it's going to be runtime error, right? So before executing, this is a compile time error. After executing, it's runtime error. You have to understand that. Fine. So I will show an example how the compile the runtime error will come, and then why it is called an exception. All those things I will explain. So this is an example, guys. Okay, this is an example. If an exception has occurred during the program execution at any step, the steps which are after this exception won't be executed. Don't worry about this for now. Before that, let me show a compile time error. Sorry, runtime error. Okay, runtime error, that is nothing but an exception. Let me demonstrate an exception, guys. Okay, I'm going to demonstrate an exception which is nothing but a runtime error. Okay, I'm going to demonstrate an exception which is nothing but a runtime error. That is the error which is displayed by after executing the program. Fine, let me write some code. A is equal to 10 by 0. Do you remember mathematics, guys? So in mathematics, what will happen when I divide a number 10 by 0 or something like that? What will happen, guys? Anyone?
Infinite.
Yes, infinite. But in Java programs, we cannot get an output of infinite, right? Simple, we'll get an exception. Okay, arithmetic exception. According to Java, dividing a 10 by 0 is an arithmetic error. Okay, arithmetic exception. It's an error from the mathematics side. Okay, so here I'm not getting any compile time error, right? When I say int a is equal to 10 by 0, I'm not seeing any error. No error is there. But let me write something. SYSOUT control space. Okay, when you type SYSOUT control space, it will directly type all stuff in Eclipse ID. When I print A, so what will happen, guys? Will the A will get printed or not? Do you think A will get printed here?
No.
No. So instead, we'll get an exception, guys. Error, arithmetic error. We'll get. Okay. Let me run this program. Now I have written this code, and this is the place where I am expecting an exception or error. That is runtime error. Right click, run as Java application. Let me drag it somewhere. Okay, this is the correct place for the output. Fine. So what did you get in the output, guys? When I run the program, right click, run as Java application, I'll get an exception like this. Arithmetic exception. What is the reason behind this exception, guys? Here it is displaying slash by divided by 0. You cannot divide a number by integer number by 0. Okay, it's not possible. If you try to divide anything by 0, you will get arithmetic exception. And where exactly I got this exception in this program? Demo is the class name. Main is the method inside the class name. Demo, under demo there is a main method. Okay, demo.main, class name dot method name. In that main method, at which line? 7th line. seventh step. This is a step. You see number 7 is there. Now, if you don't see these numbers, guys, right click here. Okay. I can remove, toggle it. Okay, you can toggle it. So right click here and select show line numbers. You will see the numbers in the Eclipse ID. If you want to disable, if you want to remove the numbers, you can remove also. Okay. If you want to read the numbers, you can enable the numbers. Just right click on this bar, left side bar, and select show line numbers. All the numbers will be displayed. Just when you see the output, an error got displayed, guys. It looks like an error, guys, but this error is nothing but an exception, guys. Where exactly the exception has occurred? In the main method, in the thread main. The main method, the exception got occurred. And this is a java.java file. The Java file, this is Java, the packages, guys. Okay, java.language pack. I will explain about this. So when you go to Java 8 API in Google, go to google.com, search for Java 8 API. Okay, simply search for Java 8 API. This kind of link, oracle.com link will come. Just click on that link. It will take you to the API library. We have came to this earlier also. So in that, find this package, guys. Java.language package. Just find it out. So here, packages are at the top. So just scroll down. Java.language. Okay, Java.language is here. Under Java.language, arithmetic exception. Where is that Java.language? Click on this Java.language. So if I click on Java.language, the classes and interfaces related to this particular package, Java, this is the package, guys. Okay, this is the package. Java.language is the package, predefined package, you can say. Java.language is the predefined package. Under predefined package, these interfaces and classes are there. Predefined interfaces and classes are there. These are not complete interfaces and classes in Java. Instead, these are only the interface and classes which belongs to this Java.language package. Since I selected here, only the classes and interfaces related to this Java.language under this Java.language package got filtered here. Now find out exception, right? I have to find the exception thing. Where is that? Arithmetic exception, right? Is it anywhere? Okay. We can also do reverse. Yeah, exceptions is there. You see, exceptions are there. So arithmetic exception is there. So this is nothing but java.language.arithmeticException. Okay, java.language.arithmeticException. So whatever the error, I'm just trying to explain more details about this error, guys. Okay, just to make you understand what does java.language.arithmeticException mean by. Okay, just it's displaying something from the library. Okay, the library. This is the path. This particular path is wherever this particular arithmetic exception class, predefined class is there. It's just displaying. It's under the java.language package. Is there. So it's displaying that path of this particular arithmetic exception class in the Java library. So the reason for this arithmetic exception is divided by dividing by 0, and I already explained this part, right? Class name, method name under the seventh step. Under seventh step, we have this exception. Right. So this is an exception, guys. An exception occurs when you execute the program. You cannot see the error while writing the program. Compiler will not give you the error, guys. Okay, but when you execute the program, if a particular statement has an exception, it will throw that particular error during the runtime. In the output, you will see the errors. Such kind of errors are known as exceptions. So that's about the exceptions, guys. Hope you understood, right? The statement exception is nothing but an error which is occurred during runtime, that is during program execution. Fine. So now, guys, if an exception has occurred during the program at any step, the steps which are after the exception won't be executed. What I mean to say here, let me demonstrate that to you. So let's say system.out.println before exception. I'm printing before exception. Okay, just a demonstration, guys. So 4 statements, before exception, before exception, before exception will be printed. Now in the 11th step, you can see the 11th number, right? In this step, I am writing int a is equal to 10 divided by 0. This will give arithmetic exception in the output, right? We'll get arithmetic error or arithmetic exception in the output. After this, I am going to write system.out.println after exception. Okay, these are after exceptions. So before exceptions, these are after exceptions. Okay. So guys, this is the place where exception will really occur, because I am trying to divide a number by 0. It will result in infinite thing, and as part of Java, it will result in an arithmetic error. That is nothing but arithmetic exception. So what do you think, guys? So how the program will execute? Just tell me, guys. By understanding this statement, if an exception has occurred during the program execution at any step, the steps which are after the exception won't be executed. What does this mean by? Can anyone explain? So will all these statements? Yeah.
The before exception statements will print, and then the after exception statements will not print.
Okay. So what's happening here is, when a program execution will start, all these system.out.println statements will be executed. So in the output, we'll get before exception printed 4 times. After that, the program execution will try to execute this particular statement. Java will try to execute this particular statement where we'll get the exception, where we'll get an exception. When we get an exception at this particular step, okay, the program execution will completely stop, and since we got an exception here, all the steps which are followed by this particular step will not be executed. Okay, only up to here it will be executed. When we get an exception, the program execution will get halted and nothing will get executed. Okay, we will be coming out of the program because of the exception. So let's see that. Right click, run as Java application. Okay, so what is the output, guys? All these 4 statements got printed. So before exception got printed, and at the 11th step we got an exception, which is nothing but arithmetic exception because of the dividing the number by 0. Reason was dividing the number by 0. So what about these steps? They didn't get executed, because since we get an exception here, the program execution has stopped, and the Java has come out of the program, and this particular steps got ignored, guys, because we already got an error. So Java didn't execute the remaining statements. Okay, this is a problem. This is a problem statement, guys. If you get an exception anywhere between the program, all the steps followed by that particular step will not be executed. Okay, will not be executed. This is nothing but that one. Okay. Now, try catch block. So this is a problem statement, guys. This is a problem. We need to solve this problem now. Okay. The problem is the steps followed by the exception step will not be executed is a problem. But what if I want to still execute the steps? Even after I get an exception here, I want to execute this particular steps. Okay. I want to ignore this exception and execute these particular steps. I want such kind of solution. What is the solution then? The solution is nothing but try catch blocks. Okay. Try catch blocks is the solution, guys. Using try catch blocks, okay, when I apply this try catch blocks to this particular exception thrown statement, okay, I can handle this exception and I can make the Java execute the remaining statements also. Okay, even after getting the exception, I can execute these statements with the help of try catch blocks. Fine. So this part of solving this problem is nothing but handling, guys, handling the exception. So hence the topic name. Okay, what is the topic name? Exception handling. How to handle the exceptions. Whenever you get an exception in the during the execution of a program, if you get an exception, runtime exception, if you get, how to handle that? Okay, that's nothing but exception handling mechanism. Exception handling mechanism is a mechanism in which whenever we get an exception during the runtime or during executing the program, if you get an exception, okay, using this exception handling mechanism, we can handle the exception and execute the remaining statements in the program without halting the program. Fine. So one solution is try catch blocks. Let's see how try catch block can handle the exceptions. Okay, we can handle the exceptions using try catch blocks. So handling the exception is known as exception handling. This is nothing. Handling the exceptions is known as exception handling. The title of this particular current topic. So this is the syntax, guys. Just observe the syntax properly. So this is the syntax. So try, starting brace, starting of the try block, ending of the try block. In try block, some code will be there. This particular code may have the exception. Okay, may throw the exception. Such kind of code you will put inside the try block. The code which may provide exception in the runtime will be put in, possibility of an exception code will be put inside the try block, and attached to this end of this try block, catch block will be there. These two blocks will come together, guys. Okay, try block, catch block will be joined together. Try block, in try block, the possible code for exception will be there, and in catch block, if an exception occurs, what should be done? Okay, if you really get an exception, what should you do? That particular code should be written in the catch block. Okay, catch exception E. Okay, just blindly follow the syntax for now. Try block, ending of the try block, starting of the try block, ending of the try block, in between some code for exception, and after ending of the try block, catch block will start immediately. In catch block, exception is a predefined class of Java. Exception is a predefined class of Java. This is the object reference. E is the object reference, which is put inside the brackets. Okay, this is starting of the catch block. This is ending of the catch block. Inside the catch block, you will be writing the code which can handle this exception. Okay, here exception prone code will be there. Here the code which can handle this exception, okay, will be written. Okay, if in case if we get an exception here, the control will be taken to the catch block, and catch block will handle the exception. Okay, the exception may arise from the try block, and the catch block will resolve it. Such kind of thing is the syntax, guys. Try block, catch block. Now I'm going to explain the flow of the try catch block now. Okay, another image it seems. Yeah, another image. So let's assume that this is a try block. This is starting of the try block. This is ending of the try block. In try block, there are 3 statements. For example, this is just an example, guys. Statement 1, statement 2, statement 3. Let's assume that at statement 2 we got an exception. Okay, at the statement 2 in the try block we got an exception. What will happen, guys? Immediately the control, Java execution control will be, Java will stop executing the program, and because it got an exception, right? It will halt, guys. Java execution will halt, and the control will be taken immediately to the catch block. Whatever the exception that is coming, right, that will be stored into this, assigned to this particular object reference of the exception class. Whatever the exception is thrown here will be thrown in a form of object case. Okay, in try block, statement 2 is throwing an exception, so that may be arithmetic exception or any other exception. So that arithmetic exception will be thrown in a form of object. You can assign the object to object reference. E is the object reference here. You can give F, any name, any letter you can give, guys. I just provided E. Okay, you can give any name here. It may not be E. Okay, object any name, variable name kind of thing. Okay, object reference name. So the object that got thrown from here will be assigned to this object reference, which is nothing but object reference of which class? Exception class, predefined exception class of Java. Okay, so when an exception is caught here, it will be taken to the code so that it can be handled. Okay, so it can be handled. In the catch block, this particular thrown exception will be handled. So statement 3 will not be executed, guys. Statement 1 already got executed, and while executing the statement 2, we got an exception. So statement 3 will get skipped. It will not be executed. Okay, immediately control will go to the catch block, and the measures to resolve this exception will be taken care of, and the remaining section of the program will be executed. After catch block, some other code may be there. That particular code will continue execution because the exception got handled in the catch block. Fine. Let me demonstrate it in a practical way. Okay, whatever the theory I explained here, I want to demonstrate that in a practical way. Let me demonstrate a program having code to handle the exception using try catch blocks. Using the try catch blocks, I am going to handle the exception. Okay, this is a program, guys. Example program. Let's see what I have written. Okay, very simple thing I written. Fine. So same program, guys. Here what happened when I executed this program? Only before execution statements got executed, and when exception has occurred here, okay, when the exception has occurred here, these statements the program execution got halted and we got an exception in the output, right? Error in the output. And because of this error, all the statements followed by this particular error have not get executed. After 11th step, whatever the statements are there from 13, 14, 15, 16 step didn't get executed. Okay. Now I want to, this is a problem, right? This is a problem. I still want to execute these steps. Even after the exception, I want to execute these steps. So what I have to do? I have to implement try catch block on this statement. This is a possible exception. This is a problem statement, right? Which can give an exception in the output, right? So let me surround this particular statement with try catch block. Type try, just type try, guys. Start the try block. Okay, try keyword and start the try block. You can give a space if you want. So this should be inside the try block. Okay, the statement which can give an exception, which can throw an exception, should be in the try block. And this is not the end of the try block, guys. Okay, I have tried catch exception. Exception is a predefined class in Java, which can handle the exceptions. Exception E. You can give anything. You can give F, you can give X, anything you can give. Okay. For just representation wise, I'm giving E, guys. Okay. Here I will write system.out.println. Exception is, which exception is handled, guys? Arithmetic exception is handled here. Okay, simple. When I am getting error, I am not halting the program. Simply I am going to the catch block and just printing arithmetic exception is handled here line. Okay, and after that, what will happen? Do you think these statements will be executed, guys? Since I handled this particular exception statement with try catch block, will this particular statements be executed, guys? Yes, Sujata, Shruti, whatever you pinged us is right. Yes, these statements will now be executed because the exception got handled in the try block. Whatever the exception we got is handled in the catch block. And instead of this, now will not get any error, guys. This error will not be displayed, okay? Because it is handled in the catch block. And instead of this exception, we are going to see this print message. Arithmetic exception is handled here, okay? Is captured and handled here. Whatever the arithmetic exception we got in the program is captured into the E, and then this particular statement handled, and then this particular statement got printed. So after this statement got printed, all these statements will be executed. Let's see, right click run as Java application. So you see, this is the output, guys. First, all these 4 statements got printed. That is before exception, before exception, before exception, before exception. After that, it went into the try block, and it went into the first statement. Int a is equal to 10/0. So what will happen here? Infinite. So it will give an arithmetic exception. So when an arithmetic exception is displayed, what will happen? Immediately the control will go here to the catch block. Because we got an exception here, instead of halting the program, the control will go to the exception here. And so this arithmetic exception will be thrown in the terms of object that will be stored in E, okay, and it will be handled. So whatever the code that is written in the catch block will now be executed. So that is arithmetic exception is captured and handled here. Okay, this will be printed. Since the exception is handled and this particular statement got printed, so what is followed by catch block will also be executed. That is after exception, after exception, after exception, after exception will be printed. So few set of questions for you guys now. So do you think why I intentionally divide a number by 0? Did anyone got that doubt, guys? So I'm dividing intentionally. I know that 10/0 is an infinite thing, and I'm intentionally trying to throw an exception here. Is it a correct approach? Anyone, guys? Just guess it, guys. It don't have to be correct. You can guess it. In real time, does anyone divide the number by 0 even after he knows that it's an infinite thing? Speak out, guys. Speak out. Rather than chat, you can speak out. Anyone?
Actually, if we know that it gonna we give error, we won't try.
Yes, yes. But what will happen is there may be some programs, maybe software kind of things. Into that, they will ask user input. Instead of here, in place of 10/0, they will be asked for user input, right? while developing the software, some user input will be taken by this particular variable. Whatever the user input is taken, that will be stored into this variable A behind the programs. So user may give 0, right? User may give 0. So that may divide that by 10. For example, 10 is already there, and here user input is taken. Okay. So here user may give 10, 0. So what happens in that case? Arithmetic exception will be thrown. We cannot expect. User may give 5 also. Okay. There is a possibility that user may give 0 also. In that case, guys, arithmetic exception will be thrown. If arithmetic exception is thrown, we have to mention the user that in the software that you cannot provide 0, something like that. Okay, you cannot enter 0 kind of thing. You can give that. Okay. So in real time, no one will directly write this, but as part of user input, 10 by 0 may be possible. 10 by 0 may be possible because this may be some b, and b value should be passed by the end user of the software. Let's say. Okay. User may pass 0 or 5 or something, right? In case of 0, arithmetic exception may come. In such cases, this exception need to be handled. So this is how the real time is. Now, guys, that's fine. Now I'll write something here. Inside try block after exception. When I execute this program, these statements will be printed. Exception will be occurred here. Do you think this particular statement will be executed? Anyone? Whatever that I highlighted, will that be printed or not? Speak out, guys. No, right?
No.
This will not be executed. Okay. If an exception comes, this won't be executed. This won't be executed in case the exception has thrown here, right? This will be skipped, and the control will directly go to the catch block. Fine. This is also fine. Now, guys, so I am changing the number 0 by 1. So what will be the output now? Remove all this stuff. So I will make it simple. What will be the output? First, before exception will be printed. Then, guys, anyone? So here int a is equal to 10 by 1, nothing but 10. It's not infinite loop. Arithmetic exception will not be displayed. So in this case, guys, when the exception is not there, will the statement be executed or not? The statement inside the catch block will be executed or not? There's no exception. No, right?
No.
This will not be executed, guys. Okay. Since there is no exception, this will be skipped, and the statement followed by the catch block will be executed. That means before exception and after exception will be printed. The catch block statement will not be printed because there is no exception. Right click, run as Java application. You see, before exception, after exception will be printed. This is how you have to practice try catch block, guys. Okay, fine. So we are done with that also. So here, what is an exception, guys? Now tell me, what is an exception?
Class.
Runtime error.
No. What is this exception? Class, predefined class in Java. Okay. We can find it out in the Java library. You can, whatever the classes you see here, right? You can find in the Java library. Go to the Java library. How to go to the Java library? Java 8 API. It will take you to the Java library, right? So go there. And so what is that exception, right? Find exception. A, B, C, D, E. Where is that exception? Exception is a predefined class in Java. Okay. Exception is a predefined class in Java. So that exception is nothing but a predefined class in Java. And E is, what is E? Here, what is E, guys? Object reference, right? Object reference, which can catch the exception thrown by the try block. When an exception is thrown from here, if in case it is 10 by 0, an exception will be thrown in the terms of object. This particular object will be assigned to this particular object reference. Okay. So if I have to assign this object reference to this particular object to this particular object reference, it should be the predefined class called exception. Okay. This is how it is built. Now let's know about the exception hierarchy, guys. This is all about exception handling, guys. Using simple try catch block, you can handle the exceptions. Okay. There is a lot more, guys. So I will explain later. Okay. I will not cover complete exception handling concept in these sessions. Okay. So wherever required during our Selenium practice or something, I'll explain the remaining part of the exception handling mechanism. Okay. So for now, just understand the basics only. Fine. Let's go to the exceptions hierarchy, which is the second topic, which is nothing but exception hierarchy also comes under exception handling only, but it is I have just separated as a separate topic. Fine. What do I mean by exceptions hierarchy? Here you already said that exception is a predefined class, right? When you see here exception is a predefined class, what is the parent class of the exception class? Can anyone say by looking at this page? What is the parent class of this exception class?
Object.
Object is a grandparent, but
Okay,
immediate.
throwable.
Yes. Exception is a class. Sorry. Exception is a class whose parent is nothing but throwable class, right? Whose parent is nothing but object. Object is anyhow the parent class of all the classes in Java. I already explained as part of object arrays, if you remember, right? Object is nothing but parent class of all the classes in Java, grandparent of all the classes in Java. Whereas immediate parent of this exception class is nothing but throwable class. Hence, in the diagram you can see exception is there in the between. This exception is a predefined class. The parent of the exception class is throwable class. Okay. Let's go to arithmetic exception now. Let's find arithmetic exception instead of this normal exception. Okay. Let's find arithmetic exception. This is arithmetic exception. Click on this arithmetic exception. Arithmetic exception is also, what is this, guys? Arithmetic. What is arithmetic exception?
Predefined class.
Yes. What is the parent of this arithmetic exception?
Runtime exception.
What is the parent of this runtime exception?
Exception.
Whose parent is throwable, right? This is the hierarchy, guys. Under throwable, we have exception. Under exception, we have runtime exception. I didn't represent that runtime exception in this diagram. Okay. There are several categories like this. Under exception, there are several categories like runtime exception. Any other class are there. Under them, under different categories of this exception class, lot of exception classes are there, which we generally use in the real time. Okay. Arithmetic exception, array index out of bounds exception. Okay. You see, arithmetic exception, array index out of bounds, different exceptions classes are there. So let's take another example. Here I am saying array index out of bounds exception. Right? Let's find it out. Array index, this is the array index. This is also a predefined class. What is the parent class of this array index out of bounds exception? Index out of bounds exception is a parent class. Like this, some hierarchy is there, guys. Under throwable, exception subclass is there. Under exception subclass, lot of direct subclass are there. In that, one of the thing is runtime. Where is that runtime? Let's find it out. Yeah, runtime exception is here. When you click on the runtime, again we have another subclasses. So in that, arithmetic exception is there. This is the exception we got, right? So here, in place of exception, you can also write arithmetic exception. Okay, in place of this exception, you can write predefined class arithmetic, because this particular object is nothing but object of the arithmetic exception only, right? This is throwing arithmetic exception error. That is nothing but object of the arithmetic exception, which can be stored in the object reference of the arithmetic exception class. Straightforward, guys. This is arithmetic exception object. So arithmetic exception object can be stored in the object reference of the arithmetic exception class, right? So that's what. But what I have wrote, I can even put exception class also, because exception is a parent class of arithmetic exception class. This will also be running the fine. Okay, right? Java application. You see, this will work out. Okay, this will be handling the exception. You see, exception got handled and this particular statement got printed here properly. Exception got handled and this particular statement got printed properly, right? That's not a problem. Now, when I say exception, let's go back and back. So let's say, let me go to the arithmetic exception. In runtime exception, I will go to the arithmetic exception. So what is the parent of the arithmetic exception? Runtime exception, right? Let me copy this runtime exception and write down in this. In place of arithmetic exception, let me write runtime exception. Save it. Run this program. Will this work or not? Guys, will this program work or not? Will the runtime exception class will be able to handle this particular exception or not?
I think yes, it will work
Yes,
out.
because runtime exception is a parent class of the arithmetic exception class. Right click, run as Java. You see, it can run. Now, one more example I will give. On the top of the runtime exception, we have exception class. Copy this and put it here. Will this be able to run the program or not? Same thing. Will you get the same output or not?
Same output.
Yes, same output. It will be able to handle the exception. Okay. Now, another one. Throwable, which is a parent class of the exception. It can handle any type of exception now, right? It's a parent, right? It has complete library of the exceptions. Throwable is a grandparent of all the exceptions. So it can handle any exception here. Right click, run as the application. It can handle also. Okay. This is what the hierarchy is about. So that's about the hierarchy, guys. There are a lot of exceptions here. Okay. Whenever you face some kind of exceptions, just if you are not able to identify a particular class, simply use a throwable. Okay, or exception. If exception is also not doing the job, you can go for the throwable. Okay, throwable will handle any type of exceptions. Okay, even errors also will be handled here in throwable. Fine. Let me demonstrate arithmetic exception handled using class in the catch block. This program you will directly understand, guys. I don't have to execute this. Okay. So before exception, already did this, right? So in this, whatever the arithmetic exception object is being thrown, I am trying to capture that in the object reference of this arithmetic exception predefined class. So this particular statement already got executed here. Here in place we had the arithmetic exception class, right? This, sorry, arithmetic, okay? Exception, some spelling mistakes, guys. Yeah. So this can handle. This will work. Right click, run as Java application. This is throwing arithmetic exception. I am trying to handle that particular thrown exception using the arithmetic exception class in the catch block. Now the next one. Demonstrate next type of exception. I am going to take another example for exceptions, guys. That is array index out of bounds exception. I'll explain this. Wait. So I'll clear all this stuff. We'll make it very simple. So int some array is equal to new. So 5, 3, 5, 3, 9, some 6. I can write like this, or I can write like this. New int of 3. Okay. Here I specified the size. What is the size of the array, guys? What is the size of the array?
3.
Yes, 3 is the size of the array. So that size means you can store up to 3 elements. So a of 0 is equal to some number you can give. So maybe I will give some 7. A of 1 is equal to some 9 I will give. A of 2 is equal to 3 I will give. Okay. So I have satisfied the size. I said only 3 elements can be stored in this particular array. So I gave 3 elements. First element, second element, third element. Now I want to store fourth element. A of 3 is equal to 5. Will I get an error?
Yes.
I will not get any error here. The compile time error will not,
Not runtime error will be.
yes, we will get the runtime error, but compiler will not give the error, guys. Okay, it looks like everything is going fine, but when you run this program, you'll get an exception. Exception in thread main java.language package. In that package, array index out of bounds exception is a predefined class. You got this exception, guys. Exception is nothing but array index out of bounds exception. Okay, because the size of the array is 3. The reason is, this is the reason, guys. Whatever that got displayed in red color here is a 3. Is the reason. So size of the array is 3. You give 4 values. So that is not possible. In which place? Demo class, main method, inside main method, which step? 11th step. Okay, 11th step. We got the exception. This is array index out of bounds exception. Let's say I'll put this in try catch block. Try. Catch. I will copy paste this class. Okay. From the error only, I'm copy pasting this class, guys. You can copy paste the class from the error also. Okay. This class can handle the exception. Okay. some anything you can give. I'll give E as object reference. Here I will say system.out.println array index out of bounds exception got handled here. System.out.println after exception. So make sure that the exception got handled and all the statements after the exception are getting printed or not. Right click run as Java application. This time exception will not be displayed, guys. Okay. So it got handled. In the using try catch block, we handled the exception. So this is displaying as a class. Let me break it out. Right click run as Java application. You see, array index out of bounds exception got handled. I copy pasted it since that's why it's okay. Array index out of bounds exception got handled here, and after that, after exception, even after the exception, the statements are getting executed. So let's find the array index out of bounds exception here. This is array index out of bounds exception. So whose parent class is index out of bounds exception? You can use anything. Okay. So you don't have to remember everything, guys. Simply use take the help of this Java 8 API library wherever needed. Simply play with that. Okay. Simply play with that. You don't have to remember all the stuff. Just practice the things and don't remember. Okay. Just practice and gain confidence. Should be in a position to write the program. That's it. Handled. Runtime exception. Anything, guys. Same examples. Okay. Everything can handle it. All the parent classes can handle this exception. Handled. Throwable. If you are not able to handle in any case, simply go for throwable, guys. It is the final solution to handle the exceptions. Okay. So this is about the array index out of bounds exception. So all the parent classes of this particular exceptions can handle the exceptions, and throwable class is the grandparent of all the exception classes. Out of all the exception classes, base grandchildren are arithmetic exception, array index of. Under arithmetic exception, there is no subclasses. You can see here, right? So under arithmetic exception, there is no subclass, right? This is a final grandchild kind of thing. But coming to the grandparent, throwable is a grandparent. Okay. Above arithmetic exception, some classes will be there. Above all the exception classes, finally, the throwable is the grandparent exception class. It can handle any type of exceptions. So this is about the exception hierarchy, guys. Guys, is it clear? Is exception handling and exception hierarchy mechanism clear?
Yes.
Okay, that's it for today, guys. That's it for today. So I will explain about exception types tomorrow. Okay, I will take this exception types tomorrow. There are different type of exception types, checked exceptions and unchecked exceptions. I will cover these things tomorrow. Okay, and along with the how to handle the files. In the tomorrow session, we'll cover that. Okay, guys. Hoping that you will practice these things and get ready for the next class. Let's meet at the same time tomorrow. See you guys. Bye. Okay. Bye, guys. Bye, Shruti. Bye, Priyanka. Thank you. Monica, thank you. Bye.